Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnson and Sean Provencher. Welcome to the Briar Group's monthly market update for June 1st, 2026. We're going to be talking about trends, there's ginger, in the market and figuring out where are good investments, where are bad investments, and probably strategies. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in this report actually. It's been a couple of years of very flat market activity in Victoria. And this one was flat, but there's a lot of stuff that I read between the lines. So I've actually been looking forward to talking us through this one. And I want to hear your take as well.
Okay. So, my overall take of the market right now is that houses have been doing well, townhouses have been doing moderately well, and condos have been very weak. What about you?
I would not disagree with any of that. I'd say yeah, absolutely. That's the situation. I think area is a big factor as well.
Yeah. So I did a big dive into different areas of the city that look like they're resilient. So first of all, actually, you know what? Let's just start with the volume of listings right now because we're over 4,000, which is the highest that I've seen in probably a decade. And our list to sale ratio right now overall is about 17%. So that's all of those different like condos, townhouses, and single family dwellings. So, but different sectors, as you said, are doing better or worse. So let's first of all talk about that. So 17%, that means we're on the border of a buyer and seller market. We're right at the very bottom of a balanced market.
Yeah, so it's funny because you said in a decade at least, and it's actually been 11 years. That was one of the things that our board chair mentioned directly when he did his monthly statement. 11 years since we've seen this much inventory, and we had a good month for sales ish, right? Like we didn't sell as many in May as we did in May 2025. So we're not up on sales, but we held enough that we didn't fall into buyer's market territory. But like you said, damn, we are so close. We are like a hair away from being in a buyer's market. And in June, we'll probably still have a good month. It tends to continue being busy in June. But what I'm worried about is if we come into July, August holding this much inventory, which we probably will, and if sales drop off and people don't pull some listings from the market, that's where we could enter buyer's market territory.
Right. So steady to softening is the way I'm looking at it. It's not sharply declining. It's not particularly strong. It's even. And sales have improved this year, but we're not nearly where we were last year. So that's the other thing is the trend is following the regular market, but we're just at a lesser scale than what we were what
With
we
more
are normally.
inventory. With more
Right.
inventory. So, and there's one other thing that really stood out. It like was yelling from the report. It's like one of those things I think not everyone would read too much into, but if you read a lot of these reports, it stands out. Our board chair made a comment about sellers' pricing. I'm going to read it if you don't mind, because to me it's
Sure.
like it's like a slap in the face. Um, I'll read the whole thing. With the most inventory for sale our market has seen in 11 years, we're seeing buyers take advantage of the many homes to choose from. Sure, yeah, that makes sense. Buyers' expectation around pricing and features have changed with market conditions, and they have more time to make decisions and are viewing more properties. And this is the part that I'm like, wow, this is like he saying it carefully, but not pulling punches. To meet buyer demands, motivated sellers need to enter the market with competitive pricing and an understanding of their property's value in the current environment. His job, when he makes these statements, is to keep the market moving. He works for the Victoria Real Estate Board. He's here to help things keep moving. So that's a very strong wording to use. I know it's still very cautious, but like that, as far as the statements that we put in market reports go, that's firm. Wake up if you're overpriced is basically what he's selling. You're not going to sell otherwise.
Right. So I call that optimistic pricing when people price it above market value. And the thing is that you can price above the market value but you're just going to stay on the market a long time. And what's going to happen is that your property gets stigmatized because people wonder why it hasn't sold. And then the other thing is, if you're pricing it high, people want your house to be perfect. So they are going to be more tenuous when it comes to the conditions and making sure that everything is working correctly. They won't compromise because there's so much choice. They won't compromise on area. When they're looking at things like condos, they're going to be looking very carefully at the contingency fund and how the strata is managed. And they're also going to look where you rank. I keep talking about this. Where you rank in comparison to other listings, and are you priced competitively? Because I will tell you, we wrote an offer last week. We came in very close to asking. I thought it was a good offer, like 99.9%. And the sellers countered 0.1%. And so I think that's unrealistic. I'm like, we gave you a good offer, and now the agent's calling me, asking me if we're going to come back. And we're not.
Tough beans. So it's funny, you were talking about buyers being more cautious with like looking over contingency funds and depreciation reports and all of that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. With this much inventory, if you don't stand out, you're not even going to get a showing. Because like the buyers are overwhelmed with options right now, especially if you're one of the softer segments of the market. Like, for example, condos, townhomes are a little bit slower than detached single family. So if you're a slower segment of the market or in general, and you don't take the time to clean, do some paint touch-ups, just a little bit to make yourself stand out, people might just not come look, right? Yeah. So that's the piece that we're paying a lot more attention to right now is like, yeah, it sucks to spend $5,000 or $10,000 on paint, but it's a lot better than doing a $50,000 price reduction in 3 weeks because you didn't put the energy in that you should have before you got your home on the market.
And we were just at a place yesterday, a condo that we're listing, and you and I were talking about the cost of staging. Well, actually, I don't think I actually mentioned the actual cost, but the cost of the staging is less than a price reduction. And we really want the condo to stand out. So we're going to make sure, and I just came from a meeting with a seller where we were making sure that the paint, it looks good. She asked like for places of touch up so that we can make sure she goes on the market. She understands. She used to be a mortgage broker. So she understands what needs to be done. And she really wants to present well. And, you know, when we look at our stats every week of what's on the market, if we look at what's happening from day one to day, even 7 days to 30 days, we see a huge peak in interest when we are listing, and it goes right down. And that's what that says to me, and it's even across the board. This interest peaks in the beginning is that if we don't get the price right, we don't present right, we are going to lose the buyer.
Yeah, absolutely. So we both did our own little research on the market this month and both came up with this hot or not concept on our own. I thought that was really funny. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I think we both came up with the same concept, like what's hot, what's not hot right now. But we didn't talk first, and I'm pretty sure we looked at it differently. Do you want to, can we chat it? Can we talk this through?
Well, overall, what's hot is single family homes. What's not are condos. Yep. And then 100%. I also divided it by area. Did you divide it by area?
I did, yeah. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to walk through what I did?
Okay. How about I say an area and you can say hot or not?
Okay.
Or we'll say it together. Oak Bay.
Oh, it's doing great. Yeah, although I will say it's not necessarily up. It's more flat. Like it's healthy.
Okay. I agree. So, and actually statistically, it's interesting. The HPI is down month over month, but There are well-priced homes selling there, and what we were saying, like people are looking for finished homes because everyone loves the area. It's considered a very high-end area. Okay.
Well, and the cost of renovations is so high. We've talked about this a few times, so we won't belabor it. But like the cost of renovating is so high. It used to be that homes where people could make some improvements would actually be often a hotter commodity, but not anymore because it just costs so much to get work done now.
Yep. Okay. Victoria, Vic West.
Again, it's actually flat. I thought you would think that it was performing better, but it's basically just
I agree. But condos there are not, I would say.
huge competition. Huge competition. And you know what? If you give a similar nod to Langford, where would you put Langford?
Langford, let me just see.
It's not doing great right now. The whole West Shore is kind of struggling. Spoiler alert.
Colwood is definite not. And I will say it did bump up though the last few weeks. Langford, slow. So it's a not for me right now.
Yep.
Here's the thing is I think if people are looking in the market geographically, they look in the city. And I just had this with a buyer from Canadian buyers from California. So we're looking in the city. They considered Langford and Colwood, but because they had opportunity to buy in the core, they preferred the core. Like
So
price wise.
what's interesting though, when you said when they look in the city or they look in the West Shore, I thought you were going to say a lot of people kind of separate. And when you look at which areas the HPI is performing well, which is our general average home imaginary number that the board makes up for us, if we look at the HPI, the worst off is the Gulf Islands. They're down almost 10% this month. The West Shore is hurting as well, getting a little bit warmer. The core is basically flat. Saanich is basically flat, and the Peninsula is the only one that's up. Interesting.
Yeah. But I think the peninsula is up because you have the proximity to airports and to Vancouver. I think there's some commuters who are going back and forth.
I think the Peninsula also has a unique buyer demographic where, especially in Sydney, it really, really attracts downsizers. It's funny, I on my channel, I made a video a couple weeks ago about Sydney, and it was like a neighborhood profile. And then I have clients who are shopping in Sydney, but also considering Saanich East, right? And after I shot the video, they said the perfect thing to me about why they prefer Sydney. And what they were saying is in Sydney, the way that it's laid out, you can have your quiet little retreat, your home that is like so perfect to live in. And you can walk 5 minutes and you're in this bustling activity and there's energy and there's shops and restaurants and everything's going on. But then you walk 5 minutes back and you're back in your quiet little retreat. And it's like, there's nowhere else like that.
Okay, agreed. But it's Sydney north of Beacon that's quiet. Sydney south of Beacon is underneath the airport runway.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. We're
So
shopping north.
Yeah, so you're and it's true, you have people who are downsizing and they're specifically looking for single level townhomes.
Absolutely. And I think that's actually driving why the HPI is a little bit higher in Sydney, is just because they have an outproportioned number of certain styles of homes that are really attractive in any market. And so they hold their weight well. So we were saying Gulf Islands are really soft. Okay. The West Shore is overall down a little bit on the HPI. And then you have Victoria and Saanich, right, which are both kind of flat. And when I look at that, I'm like, man, that is very subjective to where you're looking, because some parts of Victoria are really competitive, and then other ones, and especially Saanich East is a huge market area that has some areas that are kind of slow and tucked out of the way and people don't think of them, and it has some other areas that are just amazing and they're moving really fast.
So, I mean, to me, People look for community. I think that's the difference between the areas. So, for instance, yesterday I was talking to a client about Broadmead, and I was saying that a lot of people like Broadmead. She doesn't because she considers it dark. I like it because you have proximity to the community center, you have an excellent elementary school, you have a great high school nearby. It's just a place where you can live very comfortably over the long term, and you don't have to commute long distances to get anywhere. Whereas so that's Saanich East. Whereas if you're living in North Cordova Bay, you're going to be a little further away. You have a car culture, but you also have more modern homes and you have views. And so that's a great area. However, if you want something that's just a little out of the way, you can go to Saanich West, you can go to Brentwood Bay, and you also have that proximity to the water. You don't have the high-end shopping that you have there, but there's so much going on, so many activities, and it's like a small town lifestyle. So if you like that, or Saanich, those are great areas where you get a real feeling of community. I think the same thing in North Saanich. I mean, in Sydney, but not North Saanich. North Saanich, people go there because they like privacy, like where I live in Metchosin. So they like privacy and convenience. And it didn't hurt that the Prince of UK, Prince of England, was in North Saanich. That gave it a little cachet over COVID.
La-di-da.
Most overlooked area, though. What's the most overlooked area do you think?
So one area that I'm always surprised doesn't get more attention is View Royal. Yeah. The whole damn municipality. People just kind of drive through on their way back and forth from the West Shore. But it's this amazing middle ground that people don't talk about. It's not on a bunch of neighborhood tours. People don't highlight it on social media. It's super quiet. It has this kind of privacy seclusion thing going on. But I mean, damn it, you're 15 minutes from downtown. You got the Galloping Goose. You can cycle commute. You can also get out of town. You're in this convenient spot where like you're kind of halfway through the crawl, so like you're gonna have an easier time managing traffic. So I think View Royal for me.
I totally agree. This is why we get along well.
Yep. You know, I'll also say that a lot of people, like if you're shopping close to downtown, the southernmost part of Saanich East is an area, like no one starts their search out saying that they want to live in Maplewood, Cedar Hill. It's just, it's not on lists, but those are really, really nice areas. They've got this blend of being close to the city while still you get more space. They're very reasonably priced and they have tons of amenities. So I think more people should look there.
Well, the other area is Jubilee, which is in between Fernwood and Oak Bay. And that's just kind of this little peninsula of Saanich East that comes down. That is a very well regarded area. And you can walk to Oak Bay Village. You're close to Fernwood. So you're only like maybe a 20-minute bike ride at the very most to downtown. Is pretty flat. Yep. So that area is very popular. I think an area that's also very popular is around SMU, St. Michael's University School. So Mount Ptolemy area. And I do find though that people are really looking for UVic. Like if you have a university-aged child, those people are attracted to Saanich East around UVic, so that's also a popular area.
Yeah, just touching on UVic, it's a huge employer, and that can be great if you're in the workforce, but also if you're renting, right? Like there's always students being turned over. There's all kinds of different jobs that they need to keep a facility that size up and going. So it's a good market to be in for that. There's always going to be demand for both when you go to sell and also if you want to have sweet income along the way.
So what would you tell a seller now if they want a price?
Sorry, if they want to price too high or like in general?
Yeah, if they want to list their home and they're looking at pricing. Okay.
Well, I'll give you one thing just to kick it off. I think a year ago, there was a bit of forgiveness in the market if you start too high, where you'd still get some showings and buyers might write an offer. And right now, if you're off by 3 to 5%, like we used to tell people, if you're off by 3 to 5%, like you can just have it on the market a little bit longer and someone will come in with an offer. I don't think that's happening anymore. You've really got to have a sharp pencil when it comes to pricing.
I agree. And you have to have that sharp pricing right from the very beginning. Don't test the
That's it.
market.
Yeah, you're going to chase it downward.
Yeah. And like on the day of, choose your price, I think. And buyers will wait. If you find that a buyer is saying to you, let's wait and see what happens, they're going to move on to better priced inventory because something else is
Completely
going to
agree.
come up.
Yeah. And to flip that on its head, if you're a buyer right now, what I'd tell you is obviously watch the stuff that's just coming out, but that's also where all the other eyeballs are going to be. So if you're shopping, a lot of the best deals are going to be properties that are overpriced and are thinking about a price change, because you could get them without any risk of competition, and you could come in, maybe 5%, 7% under asking if they are truly overpriced. And that can be a great way to get a property tied up. So don't wait. Don't wait, because here's the thing. Properties that are well priced are still receiving multiple offers left, right, and center. There's a small thread of properties that are priced really well, they're presenting well, and they're flying off the rack still.
I priced a townhome today, and it has a second kitchen that's authorized. And we priced it, and yesterday another townhome reduced its price, and I've been watching that, and we're priced identical. So we are showing greater value compared to that townhome. Anyway, we're getting good activity on it already, so that's very positive. I would say though, so I did a talk last week for a women's business group, and they said, what's happening with the market? And I'm like, there's no crash that's happened. It's kind of been like a little bit of a deflation. and so you just have to understand, as a buyer, realizing whether or not, first of all, how long you're going to own the property. Is the house or condo priced well? If so, jump in, as you said, to avoid the multiple offers, because they are happening. We got 5 offers on our listing in Central Saanich. But also be reasonable and understand the seller, especially early days on market, is not going to be very elastic in their price if they're well priced.
Well, and it's funny too, there's this kind of sweet spot, even when they're not well priced. Unfortunately, they don't know it until the market's told them, and for them to receive the message, it usually takes at least 3 weeks, like 2 to 3 weeks, depending on their level of urgency with their personal life.
Yeah.
So it can take some time. And so if you are going to be looking at properties that are overpriced, what I usually do is I set people up to watch. I set them up to only receive listings that have been over 3 weeks on the market. So you have a secondary search on your portal where you can see the stuff that's been sitting for a little while.
Well, I always tell buyers, we're going to look at this price range, but if a property is overpriced, don't trash it. Keep it there so we can watch it, and if it does come down, then that's activity, and then we can watch days on market as well. And if we get up to 3 weeks, then we can go for it. Okay, so overall, we're not in a like rapidly falling market. We're in a slightly deflated market, I would say. It's borderline balanced, and it's not hot unless you price it properly.
Yeah, and again, really, it's neighborhood by neighborhood. I hate to use that cliche, but like you really need to have an understanding of exactly what's in your hands if you want to get an idea of what you should expect. So don't go off this. Have us come in. We'll look at your property and we'll strategize together.
Yeah, and if you're in a buying position right now, you're in somewhat a position of power, but use it wisely.
All right, everybody, that's it. Thanks for watching.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a great month. We'll see you next week, and don't forget to check Sean's weekly market updates.
Woohoo! Okay.
Woohoo! Bye.